is good, YouTube? Quinn Wade Basketball Analysis coming to you out a quick video. I wanted to let you guys know I got some new merchandise available, not just t-shirt anymore. I got different type of t-shirt, different type of shirts and logos that you can purchase on my spread shirt, and also hoodies now. We have expanded and added more to the channel and more merchandise for the brand. Thanks for supporting. It will be in the description and the links will be in the comment section below. Thanks for helping me and supporting the movement. Quinn Wade Basketball Analysis. I'm going to check out the video. What is good, YouTube? Coming to you all this Monday morning as I start to wrap up the What to Expect series. We're going to do the last team in this conference, and that's the double-headed monster with a little bit of a tail in Reggie Jackson, Blake Griffin, Andre Drummond, and the Detroit Pistons, a team that a lot of people are high on in this. Well, in this NBA, they feel like this team gonna make the playoffs. Honestly, I think they will too. Dwayne Casey was coach of the year last year, able to lead a team with DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry to 59 wins, the number one seed in the East. They've been able to be a top 3 seed in the East for the last couple years. Dwayne Casey is a coach that does maximize the talent. He was able to, as DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry continue to develop, he took chances with them with Uzziah. He made them a lot better than what they looked by putting them in good positions and trusting and believing into them. Nobody ever thought Kyle Lowry would be an all-star. People thought DeMar DeRozan, that's why he was a lottery pick. But a lot of people didn't think Kyle Lowry was going to become an all-star and one of the best players in the league. Obviously, he was able to do that under Dwayne Casey. And you can also say about DeMar DeRozan constantly putting in work on his handling, his shooting, his post-up ability, his footwork, and allowing him to showcase it and show that he has improved. Now, we see him with a new team. He has to learn them all over again. He has to know their strengths, where they're good at, where they're great at. He has a whole off-season training camp, preseason, obviously before the season starts, to try to get these players acclimated into this system while also finding different ways to use them. I like Stan Van Gundy. I think he's one of the best coaches in the NBA, but this team has got hit by a lot of injuries, and they just wasn't able to make it to the playoffs the last 2 years after making it 2 years ago. This was a team that we thought would be a perennial playoff team, and they not. They haven't made it to playoffs. They traded for Blake Griffin. People thought they'd make a playoff push. They did, but they ended up missing it. And now when you have 2 all-stars on your roster, 2 of the top 25 players, top 30 players on this roster, it comes with expectations. And then you add the coach of the year in Dwayne Casey, it comes with even more expectations because people are expecting this team to win. People are expecting this team to be good. And there should be no excuse why they shouldn't make the playoffs. They should be a top 5, top 6, top 7, top 8 team in the East. They shouldn't be barely making the playoffs or fighting for a playoff spot during the end of the season, because they do have the talent in the starting lineup and they have enough depth in the regular season that they should be able to win games, especially with the talent that they have. Now, Blake Griffin is a guy I'm about to touch on. I like what he did last year. He was hitting game winners. He was carrying the team to the playoffs with the Clippers. He obviously got traded because he continued to get injured, and he really he shouldn't be a franchise guy. When Blake Griffin was the number 1 pick, people thought he'd be a franchise guy. He was. He came in the league averaging 20 and 10, was an all-star his first year, and helped the Clippers make it to the playoffs 5 straight seasons. But one thing I would say about Blake Griffin, that was pre-injuries. He has had significant injuries in his knees and everything. It has declined him and made him age quicker, and it also, didn't help him because he's focusing more on rehabbing than he is getting better as a basketball player because he's been suffering so many major injuries and minor injuries. Now, when Reggie Jackson is another guy that, he's been suffering with a lot of injuries, they always can not really depend on Reggie Jackson because he has really been the reason to me why they haven't made the playoffs. His ability to put the pressure on the defense, create his own shot, get to the paint, knock down clutch baskets, and put, the Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond in natural areas on the court, and allows them to not worry about handling the ball, creating plays, because he's going to handle the ball and create plays. And it allows Blake Griffin to have the ball when he needs it, but not always have to make every play, every pass like he was doing when he was out. So I think Reggie Jackson will add a different identity and a different look to this team with his ability to be a score for his point guard and put the pressure on the defense. I think Blake Griffin ability to rebound, knock down mid-range jumpers, sometimes knock down threes, handle the ball, create shots for others, and get to the paint. I feel like they overused them, and I feel like they didn't have enough floor spacing to really get the best out of Blake Griffin. One thing is about the Clippers was that they had Chris Paul, they had J.J. Redick, they had Jamal Crawford, they had some guys that can knock down some spot-up threes. As Blake Griffin continued to expand his game, it gave them more looks and made them harder to guard. Remember, the Clippers team was one of the hardest teams to guard in the NBA. They just couldn't stay healthy to make a long playoff push. They had chances, they had opportunities, but it was always an injury in the playoffs or an injury in the regular season that held them back for winning 60 games and getting out of the second round. And they also collapsed against Houston, which would have made them a team that made it to the Western Conference Finals, which made this team look a whole lot different than it is now if they would have made it past the Rockets that year. But all I can really say is Blake Griffin is still one of the top 25 players in the league. I think he will have an even better season because he's going to be coming back healthy. He's going to come back with better chemistry with his teammates after playing with him half of last year. Also, he can really work on his body. I seen him playing some basketball in some gyms. He was blowing past people. He was dunking on people. He was shooting over people. He looks good. It just getting his body healthy, getting back on the same page with his body. Not only that, working on improving his game. His 3-point shot, his mid-range shot, creating off the dribble, working on his post game a little bit more to give him some different dimensions to how he's going to score and impact the game and continuing to enhance his playmaking. But since he's not recovering from an injury this year, he can work on all those things and polish up on some things because it is an open season for him because he's actually healthy now. So he doesn't have to worry about rehabbing this offseason. I think they have some solid guys on this roster. Jose Calderon is a guy that you know what you're going to get. He's going to give you solid playmaking. He's going to run the offense. He's going to make sure people are in their areas. He's going to make sure everybody's in the right places, in the right spot. He's a pass-first point guard that can also shoot. You have Henry Ellison is coming off the bench. He's a guy that has a lot of potential. They're not paying him that much, and he still is only 21 years old. But he's a guy that can create his own shot depending on where he is on the court, shoot the three, shoot the mid-range, handle the ball a little bit, and it gives him another dimension. If Blake Griffin do get injured, he probably can come in right now and give you at least 10 to 12 points a game. And I do see him expanding a little bit more as he get closer to that rookie extension. I think he has a lot more to prove and a lot more to do. I'm not calling him out. I just think Harrison Harrison hasn't been what we thought he would be, but I haven't gave up on him yet. Langston Galloway is a solid player that can play the 1 or the 2. And they need a backup guard for this team because, like I said, Reggie Jackson, man, going through a lot of injuries. Stanley Johnson, he's been putting in a lot of work this offseason. He's a guy that can play the 2, 3, or the 4, depending on the lineups and who's out there offensively and defensively. He's a guy that's been a big disappointment. He was drafted very young, so he had a lot of developing to do with his body. He been getting inconsistent minutes. Sometimes he doesn't even play. They relied on him a whole lot last year, especially as injuries piled up and trades was made. They needed Stanley Johnson to come in. He's going to have to work on that 3-point shot because they're going to need threes at that shooting guard in 3 position. He's a big body. He's very mobile. He's 245. He's 6'7". One thing he just has to do is learn how to make the best of his opportunity, knock down spot up threes, get out in transition, get some layups and some dunks, cut to the basket when you're all playing off the ball, and also continue to move. And if he's able to do that, that's just going to keep the defense guessing and keeping the defense off balance. Just staying in one area watching the ball isn't going to help this team, and not being able to shoot threes is going to keep him off the court. So I think he just needs to be the perfect role player, the glue guy, making the right passes, getting out in transition, knocking down threes, playing off the ball, trying to guard the best player because they don't really have any great perimeter defenders since they got rid of Avery Bradley. So he's going to have to be that perimeter defender. And if he can do these things, I can definitely see him getting paid 10 to 12 to 15 million or maybe even more than that. But they're really banking on Stanley Johnson this year, and he's going to have to bring it. Luke Kennard has been a little disappointing, but he still showed that he can be a solid rotation, a seventh, eighth, or a ninth guy on the bench, and that's what they're going to need him to be this season. You still have Jameer Nelson, who may or may not be on this team. I think he won't be, but they still going to have to find another point guard to back up Reggie Jackson. It's a lot of them. They do have Ish Smith too, but he has been a little inconsistent when he gets minutes. Kyrie Thompson, we don't really know. We don't even know if he's going to get playing time. Glenn Robertson, he's a upgrade for their bench, but we still got to see what he's going to bring to the table. Zaza is what he is. He's going to bring a big body that can take fouls, do all the dirty work, set the screens, make sure everybody is moving and getting spacing on their jump shots and their cuts to the basket. He's a veteran. He knows how to play, and he's a legitimate backup center for a guy like Andre Drummond, who I'm going to talk about last, and that is now because Andre Drummond, every time Reggie Jackson goes down, he's the guy that makes the All-Star teams. He's the guy that he led the NBA in rebounding. His offensive game is just not there. I know he came in the NBA, he was raw, he was a project, but he's been in the NBA for so many seasons. He's been an all-star for multiple seasons. He is still 25, and he's getting paid $25 million a year. And I can understand because they don't have really that much talent and they don't really have that much cap space on this Pistons team, but he has to find other ways to dominate the game. He's not a great defender. He's not a great help defender. He's not a great scorer. He's just a great rebounder and a good athletic body that can clog up the paint when it comes to rolling to the basket and staying around the basket or even getting offensive rebounds and going straight up and finishing. Other than that, he has improved his free throw shooting. That's something that he drastically needed to improve, and he has. But he has to continue to improve that. But he has to have some go-to moves. He has to have something that if they need him to score or they need a basket, if he's going to be their best player, he's going to have to find ways to score the basketball. He's been in the league too long not to have a go-to move. He's been in the league too long not to have really any offensive game. Now, I do think Blake Griffin is the best player on this team. He can handle the ball. He can finish in the paint. He can dunk. He can post up a little bit. He can knock down mid-range jumpers at a decent clip. Not great, not amazing, but okay. And he can hit the three occasionally and give them that floor spacing that they need. Plus, he's a guy that can really go at players and become one of the better isolation scorers. With them having the lack of floor spacing, the lack of playmakers, and the lack of ball movement, and floor spacing, like I said, shooting, this team is going to really be a mess. And his team is going to struggle scoring basketball consistently. And his team with Blake Griffin, Andre Drummond, Henry Ellison, they don't have a rim protector. They don't have nobody that can protect the paint. They don't have nobody that can really they don't have really no defenders at all. Let me just go ahead and say it. Reggie Jackson not a defender. Stanley Johnson was supposed to be known for his defense. He's not a great defender. They have no great defense. They don't have enough shooting, so their offense is going to be bulked down. I think that this team is going to definitely be fighting for that 6th, 7th, 8th team. I think the only reason why they make the playoffs is because they have a little bit more top-heavy talent than other teams. Plus, Blake Griffin showed that he can carry a team to the playoffs in the West. He didn't do it alone, but he had another All-Star. Plus, this roster have solid role players at when they go 7, 8, and 9 deep. I think they definitely needed to do better in free agency, trying to find other players on cheap contracts that they can bring in and plug them in. I think that them staying pat really hurted them because now they're banking on their young players, their sophomores and juniors, to really have great seasons in their roles. And they haven't been able to prove that for the last couple of years. So I'm not saying they should give up on them and it's over. I'm just being real. This team doesn't look like a contender. This team doesn't look like they're going to have the best season. Maybe Dwayne Casey can figure something out. Maybe he can get the better out of this roster. Maybe these players come back new and improved and help take this team to another level. Other than that, I see this team winning 41 or 45 games, fighting for that 6, 7, and 8 spot, getting knocked out in the first round. They are going to be cap strapped for the next couple of years because of Blake and Drummond and Reggie Jackson, but his contract is coming off the books. I don't really know if they can find a point guard that's better than Reggie Jackson. That's going to be the problem. But he has been injured so much that at the end of the day, they they paying him and he's not playing that many games. But when he plays the games, they're hard to guard and hard to stop. And we haven't really seen him and Blake Griffin play that much together because of injuries. So I'm going to want to see them this year. I'm going to come into this season with an open mind. I'm going to watch them play the first 20, 30 games, and then I'll come back and let you know how I feel about this Detroit team later this season. But right now, not enough, lack of floor spacing, lack of defenders, lack of dominant players. Consistently, they're going to be struggling. So I don't really see them winning that many games. I don't really see them making a huge playoff push unless they make a trade. And even if they make a trade, who could they really trade for to fix this roster on the fly? This is going to be a project. This is going to be a work in progress. This is going to be a process. And I think Dwayne Casey is going to sort of have to make this team how he wants it to be, getting on page with the general manager, getting on page with the owner to get a blueprint of what Dwayne Casey needs and what he wants for this team, and start making the proper changes to trade and gain talent, whether it's a top 10 pick or even a top 15 pick, or even trading players to get a higher pick or a player that they need. They got to figure out an identity. They have to figure out what they're trying to accomplish, and that's all the general manager and Dwayne Casey need to get on the same page. He's inheriting a roster that Stan Van Gundy built, not a team that he wants to build or a team that he made. So I think it's going to be a process of trying to figure out who's going to play here, who's going to be here, who's going to be gone, who's going to be out. And I think this is a real tryout season for Dwayne Casey to see what he has, to see what he has to do, and to see what players really want to be here, what players really can help, what players really want to work hard to get where they want to be. And I think that this is the whole point of this season, learning each other, building chemistry, and trying to find out a blueprint to get this team back on a championship race. And right now they're so far from there. They have talent, they have all-stars, but they don't fit, they don't play together right, and they don't have enough good role players to put into this system that really can get the best out of these stars and the best out of this team. And I think that's something that year 2, year 3 they can start figuring out and getting on the same page with. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think I'm sleeping on the on the Detroit team? Do you think I'm overrating them, underrating them? Do you think they don't make the play? They do make the play. Do you think it's Reggie Jackson? Do you think Blake Griffin washed up? Do you think Drummond not a franchise guy? Do you think they even have an all-star this year? Do you think they're going to win a lot of games this year? Do you think they're going to be a top 3 seed in it this year? Do you think they're going to make a trade in a trade deadline? Do you think they can pick up some solid veterans on a trade deadline that can really help this team out and give them what they need? Other than that, this Quinn Wade basketball analysis, I'm gone. Check out my website, analysisplayground.com. Link in the description, comment section below. Check out my Facebook page, analysisplayground.com. Like on there to show support. That'll be in the description and the comment section below. Check out my Spreadshirt. There you can find Analysis Playground and Basketball Analysis t-shirts, hoodies, sweaters, and other little accessories that you can buy. Thanks for watching the videos. Thanks for binge watching. Thanks for subscribing. And also thanks for the continued support. Check out the website. Check out the Facebook page and buy some merchandise. Thanks for that. Quinn Wade basketball analysis, I'm going, and let me know what you guys think about the Detroit Pistons. Is they close? Is they far? Is they in no man's land? Or is they, a team that has enough talent that going to be just good enough to make the playoffs, but not good enough to ever be nothing more than that? Let me know, Detroit.